Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. It is time for Sip and Chat with T. Lynn. Oh man, come on in, and as you come in, please remember to share the love, share the love, share the love. Make sure you like and you share. Tonight, I'm super excited. This is a hard man to get on your schedule. Do you hear me? He's a hard man, but when you do, it's so worth it. I'm so excited to have joining me tonight for Sip and Chat, Dr. Yew. Let me pop you in. I'm about to say, Dr. Yew, Yuma Bellamy. Woo! Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I'm doing fantastic today. Just here at home and handling some planning work and working with some clients and things like that. So, um,
Awesome.
glad to be here.
Look, I told y'all it's hard to get with him sometimes, but while you have him, you might as well partake of that knowledge. What are you sipping on tonight?
I am sipping on my holy basil tea. So,
Yes. Holy basil. That is my friend. That is
mhm.
my friend for sure. Great for relaxing and just calming. I love it, love it, love it. So tonight I'm sipping on some water, some nice water.
Can't beat that.
No, no. I have to be creative. I noticed that in order for me to really get my water in,
Mhm.
most of the time I can't drink anything else because after a while I don't want nothing else to drink. So I try to sip on water as often as I can to make sure I'm getting what my body needs.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So let's talk about who Dr. Yu is. So Dr. Yu is a herbalist. Dr.
Mhm.
Yu is an African drummer, brings plenty of joy to people's lives through rhythm. I definitely want to talk about that tonight. What
Yes.
else falls in the wheelhouse of Dr. Yu?
Well, certified holistic health consultant. I like to consider myself a lyricist in terms of a hobby, into hip hop culture as well, that pretty much encompasses who I am, what I'm about. I like to consider myself a community activist, if you will, or slash educator. So I do a lot of community-based programs, especially based around health education,
Yes.
herbal education, and things of that nature. So that's really like the bulk of who I am, what I love. Music in general. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So my first encounter with you, I always say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I have been setting my intention on wanting to learn more about herbalism. But when I went online, depending on where you're searching at, you can get an array of things when you look up herbalist. But then I went to a community meeting, and right next door, you guys were having a holistic pop up shop. Or I don't want to call it a pop up shop, it was a holistic wellness clinic. That's what I'll call it. And that was my first, I would say, my first encounter, real encounter with different services of holistic nature when it comes to the services like the meditation, the breathology, like herbalism. It was so much more that was there, which was amazing. But that is where I met you. And I walked up, I was like, man, I had just been setting this intention, and it seemed like every time I turn around, I can't seem to find something that makes sense about what herbalism is. And then voila, here's Dr. Yu. And we connected, and we've been doing different work together for almost, I think that's like almost a year now. Wow, it's been that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And so I want to talk to you tonight. I'm gonna take my time. I know we on the time limit, but I want to take my time because you are like a wealth of information. I'm like, while I have you, there's so much that's in you that can benefit, our viewers. And I want to make sure we get in the nooks and crannies of that. So as a herbalist, I'm looking at the current climate. Of course, we're dealing with COVID, and everyone's talking about your immune system and preparing for the next wave in the fall season, which I don't even want to say the next wave. I know they deem it as that, but I'm like, let's just be honest. We're going into the fall season. And with the fall season comes the flu season, the cold season, and all those things that get you down respiratory wise. What are some things or some tips and nuggets, or what are some things you think that we should focus on most to prepare for this upcoming season?
Well, one of the things that I like to advocate for is to avoid a lot of mucus plaque building foods.
Ooh,
So
that's good.
foods that tend to build a lot of mucus in the body makes the body more susceptible to illnesses,
Yeah.
especially of the respiratory tract. So when you're talking about the cold, talking about flu, you're talking about COVID-19, we're kind of talking about similar principles, even though they may have slightly different manifestations. It's still a similar principle in terms of this attacking or affecting the respiratory tract. And with anything with the lungs, we want to make sure that the lungs is as free as possible of excess mucus or mucus plaque. We want to make sure that the respiratory passages are able to relax and open up so that oxygen can flow through properly. So in that, and you also want to make sure that things are moving throughout the body. You don't want a lot of stagnation.
Yeah.
So avoiding things like, for most people, dairy products. I always say the foods that are white but they don't grow white. Such as
Mm.
white rice, white flour products like white breads and things like that. Are good places to start in terms of looking at things to stay away from and incorporating more whole foods, especially plant-based foods, your fruits, your fresh vegetables, raw if possible or lightly steamed. Those things are going to provide your body with a lot of vitamin C. You have some of your things like beans and seeds, which provide your body with a lot of zinc, you
Okay.
know, and those two elements are very, very crucial elements for the immune system. Other things like if you don't have an allergy to mushrooms and you do the cooked mushrooms, that's good too. That's a good source of selenium, which is another
Mm.
necessary nutrient for your immune system. So those are some simple things that you can do from a food standpoint. A lot of people also utilize an herb like elderberries,
Yes.
which helps, functions basically as what we call an immune system tonic, helps to strengthen your immune system as you take it over time,
Okay.
or astragalus root. Astragalus root is another really good one that functions in almost a similar kind of fashion. You take it on a regular basis and it helps to strengthen your overall immune system activity. So that making sure that you're doing what you're doing right now, drinking a lot of water, helping to move a lot of those toxins and fluids through the body, and that kind of decreases your susceptibility to a lot of those illnesses. And that's some simple things you can do to help to boost the immune system. Other things like warming foods, your garlics, onions, and things of that nature, good to incorporate too because they help to keep stuff moving in the body.
Awesome. Now I definitely keep up with elderberry, but one of them that I had been using was Camu. Now, would you suggest using Camu to like boost your immune system?
Yeah, for anyone who's not familiar with Kamu, Kamu is a fruit that grows in South America and is sold here in the United States as a supplement for its vitamin C content primarily. So Kamu is like the world's best known source of vitamin C. So taking that on a regular basis, especially if you're not doing a lot of raw fresh foods, that kamu kamu is definitely something that you can incorporate to help your overall immune system and help the respiratory tract in general. As vitamin C is very, very important, and especially going into the fall and winter season, because we tend not to eat so much raw foods and fruits and vegetables and things
Right.
like that, and we tend to eat more cooked stuff and all of that. The body does not manufacture vitamin C. It's the only vitamin that the body doesn't manufacture. So we have to get that through an outside source. So the Kamu is even better than taking a vitamin C supplement because it contains, being that it's a whole food, it contains other like factors that help your body to absorb and utilize that vitamin C more efficiently.
That's good information right there. Yeah. Now I learned about Camus from when I was taking a nutritional class. Well, yeah, a nutritional class, nutritional health class, and they were talking about health foods, and that was one of the superfoods that was introduced to put in like your smoothies and so forth to be able to again boost your immune system and boost the vitamin C in your system. Astragalus, I didn't know about that, but that's something that I'm definitely gonna look at trying.
Yeah, Astragalus is used a lot in Chinese herbal medicine, traditional Chinese herbal medicine. And it's something that's used primarily for it's many different purposes because herbs are so multidimensional. But astragalus is used a lot for like building up the immune system, building up what they consider the overall chi in the body, like the energy flow of the body,
Right.
um, and different like respiratory illnesses and things like that, especially more so like in the preventative stages and things like that, and even warding off viruses. Astragalus
Mhm.
is good in that sense as well.
Good to know. Good to know. Now, I do want to go back. So you were saying dairy products. Of course, for people that are plant-based, they're doing milk, but they're doing stuff like almond milk or oat milk. Now, would those still be deemed as mucin causing agents?
They can be, but they're not as much as dairy for most people. So with the replacement milks, if you will, and replacement dairy products that are more plant based, they can still have agents in them that can help build mucus in the body, but it's not going to be as um, as long as you don't have like nut allergies and things like that, it's not going to cause the same type of mucus buildup in the body. It's not going to cause the same allergic reaction that
Okay,
like the milk and stuff will have.
got you. So basically, stay away from refined stuff because that's usually the white stuff.
Yeah, and things like almond milk, oat milk, hemp seed milk, etc. Those are things that you can actually make yourself. If you all you need is a blender, the nuts themselves, some water, a little bit of salt, and some people add a little sweetener to it, which is kind of optional. You blend that together, and then you strain the pulp out, and there you have it. Only thing that they add in stores and stuff like that for the commercialized ones that is going to give you a little bit of a difference that's needed for that is some type of a thickening agent,
Oh,
that gives it a texture more like the cow's milk, But aside from that, it takes on the taste of whatever ingredient you're using, and the texture is just a little bit thinner, but it can still taste good. You can still use it for the same purposes and all of that.
that's good to know. I have not been bold enough to try making my own milk just yet. Um, but that's something that I definitely will consider.
Yeah, I do it time to time. I do a mix of both to be transparent. Sometimes I go to the store and I buy the store made one, and sometimes I like to make my own. And if I'm going to get the store made one, is more so out of convenience than anything. But I really prefer to make my own. To me, it tastes better, and it also is a lot healthier. You know exactly what's going into it. There's
Right.
none of the extra ingredients, and you kind of know the nutrition you're getting from it.
So true. Because I'm telling you, when I started my journey as going vegan, I never realized how much stuff goes into your food and you have no idea is in your food until I started paying attention to labels, to food labels to see
Mhm.
what was in it to make sure that it was vegan friendly. And I'm like, half the stuff, I'm like, you put that in this, like milk
Yeah.
and potato chips. Um, my son, somebody had bought my son some little fruit snacks, and I happened to be looking at the label. He was sharing with me the label because he checks labels now too.
Hmm.
But the label said they put beef in it, and he's like, "Mommy, they put beef inside my fruit snacks." I was like, "It doesn't surprise me."
Yeah.
What people put, what these companies are putting into your food, and you don't even know it's there, especially if you're not paying attention to your food labels. So definitely being able to make my own thrills me because you're right. At least I know what's going in it. Because half the time we don't know what we're ingesting if we're not paying attention.
Most people don't, and some people would rather not know. I remember back when I was a child, and speaking about the fruit snacks, one of my friends, one of my best friends' sisters, at that point in time, she's a little older than I am, so she used to babysit me sometimes. And I remember she's Muslim, and I had those little candy fish joints, the
Uh-huh.
little
Like the
candy,
sweetest fish.
yeah, the Swedish fish. So I had some of those, and I offered her some, and she was like, "No, I can't eat those. It has pork in it." I was like, "Pork in this?"
Yes.
I'm like, "Really?" And I didn't believe her until I actually wound up checking and finding out that the gelatin that they use to create those things are pig byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many different things that I've learned through the years, and even continue to learn, that they put inside of the food, and is masked under either even different names and things that we may kind of overlook very easily. There's so many different names for sugar alone.
I was gonna say you're not telling no lies. I like when I see initials of an ingredient, I'm like going to Google, like, what is this?
Mhm.
Because I'm like, if you can't even tell me what it is, I need to look it up because obviously it's something wrong with whatever this ingredient is. But it's bananas. It's bananas. But and I tell my mom this all the time. She's like, well, I just don't understand because I had been talking to her. Just in the journey, I'm like, before I went vegan, I started paying attention to sustainably grown foods. And what
Mhm.
I was telling my mom was, I said the meat that you ate when you were a kid, that your parents raised in their backyard, is not the same type of stuff you're getting today. Like it's so much more than just the simple foods of my grandparents planting and growing their own food and raising their own chickens and stuff. Nowadays, you have no idea because of the demand. Our meats are being pumped with so much extra stuff. And then we take that in, and our bodies can't process it out because it's chemicals that shouldn't be there anyway. And then you end up sick. It's just not the same anymore. So now you have to really be careful. And like you said, even with basic stuff, bread, you look at some of the breads and you're like, you put what? Just what happened to grandma just being in there putting a little flour and some water and a little salt and maybe a dash of sugar, depending on what she making, and she put it in the oven. Like what happened to that? Why do you have to have so much extra in your foods? And that's part of what makes us sick is all this stuff we're taking in that's just unnatural.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I'm not gonna go on that tangent, but I'm just saying we gotta watch what we're putting in. We really gotta watch. But I know that my this segment is usually 30 minutes long, and I don't want to miss this conversation with you. So I know that we had a conversation before about just how with African drumming, it is one
Mhm.
of the ways to bring healing. So let's talk about drumming, the rhythm, and how that helps just with the healing process. It helps just the body. How does that help?
Well, the drumming helps in, I would say, a few different types of ways. One of the things is that, the sound itself, sound is vibration, and vibration promotes movement through the body. So anytime, again, you don't want things to stay stagnant in the body. Anything that's stagnant brings sickness, brings disease. Even from if you look outside of the human body and you have standing water, what tends to happen? You're going to develop bacteria. You might have mosquitoes breeding in that water, flies, and all types of things that you don't want, all those undesirables. So inside the body is practically the same thing. You have chemicals that can build up with stagnation inside of the body that can damage the cells. You can have bacteria, parasites, so on and so forth, which feed off a lot of waste in the body on top of that as well. So circulation, being able to get things moving through the body, keeps the energy flowing and keeps things, the undesirables, from building up inside the body. That also is not just from a physical standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint. So one of the things that drumming is helpful for is to help free up emotional stagnation. People who are going through things like depression, people who may be going through things like anxiety. Sometimes it can help, with helping to rebalance one's spirit and one's energy for dealing with those kind of things. People who are going through excessive frustrations and anger in their lives. And the interesting thing in my experience is that, when people play at first, especially, if they have a guidance, or even if they don't have guidance, but if you're trying to teach them something, or they don't have any guidance at all, if you know how to tune in, you can pick up what somebody may be experiencing and how they play their drum.
Mm.
So a lot of things will come out through that instrument, and in the type of drumming that we do, that I do, particularly most often, which is djembe drumming, is actually made as a spiritual tool, if you will. And even the materials, that they use to create this drum are organic materials that are believed to have special spiritual powers and influences, so to speak. So the type of wood that's used, holds a certain vibration. And they actually use that wood even in terms of medicine on the continent. You know what I mean? But it could be used as internal medicine, but it can also be used as vibrational medicine. You
I
know,
like that.
the animal skin, the animal holds a certain vibration. And those organic materials, it's said that the drum has three spirits. It's the spirit of the the animal, the spirit of the tree, and the spirit of the person who's playing the drum. You
Mm.
know, so those things kind of culminate as one. And the goal is, for self mastery. So that way, what you project through your instrument will come out in a harmonious and healing fashion, because what's within, comes without, you know.
Yes.
So that's kind of like the element of it. It's said to relieve stress. There are many different studies to help support that. It helps to build new neurological pathways when you're learning new patterns and new rhythms. So it's even been found helpful for people who may experience things or be prone to things such as dementia and Alzheimer's, memory issues, and things of that nature as well. And it's a bonding tool, because drumming is not something that you typically do by yourself. It's really like a community or communal kind of a
Right.
activity. So it allows you to be not only in harmony with yourself, but also in harmony with those who are around
Yeah, I totally get that. Because you're right. Like one drum by itself, it may sound a certain way, but when you bring a, I don't want to say a cluster, but when you bring more together, it does change the vibration and the rhythm of what you receive. So I totally can see
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. I remember when I used to work in the office for cancer survivors. And I remember seeing a book in one of the doctor's office, and it was talking about just how music is healing, how music helps with the healing process.
Hmm.
And I love how you shared just that, the vibration of it, like it all comes together. Like the thing that I saw that made it all make sense and come together for me is it reminded me of like the movie Avatar, how
Hmm.
the trees were connected, the animals were connected, like everything was connected to make it, like you said, harmonious. And it did send forth a united harmony. It's a united experience, I'll say. 'Cause I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but I totally get that, and I see how that could work. Because music, in all honesty, like sometimes I'm in here and I'm like, I just feel like I need to dance it out. Like I just need to get up and dance, and it does change your mood. Like if you're feeling down and you get a good rhythm and you get in here and you get to dance, and it changes the mood. It changes, I'm gonna use your word, the vibration. It changes where you are. It changes how you're feeling and helps to lift you up. So
Absolutely.
definitely, definitely. Well, we are coming to an end, but before we do that, what are what negative wisdom would you like to share with our viewers before we go tonight? Something to carry that they can carry with them. What negative wisdom would you like to leave them with tonight?
Hmm. Do your best to be your best self at all times. I think I'll leave it there. Do your best to be your best self at all times. Don't settle for less than when you're greater than that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Um, so how can people reach you if they want to partake? Because again, you are herbalist and you do have different mixtures. Like I might have to hit you up for that holy basil tea you've been drinking. How can they get in contact with you to obtain your services?
This holy basil tea is good too.
I know.
But you
Look,
can get
I
in
might have to
contact
hit
with
you up
me.
for some in a second.
But you can get in contact with me either through my phone number, which is 202-469-0264. You can also contact me through Facebook. I'm at facebook.com/Doctor Yew, which is spelled DOCTAYEW. My website is u360.com, YEW360.com. And those are the major ways to contact me. Also, my email address, dryew@ymail.com.
Now, he gave y'all plenty of ways to contact him. If you need to get with him on some consultation for a consultation, if you need to partake of some of his herbal medicines over there, you got multiple ways. There's no excuse. All right,
So
no
many
excuse.
different things. So many different things that different tools that we have available. So be glad to help you out, help you to sift through some things if you reach out. And I also, before I forget, I want to make sure I give a shout out to my Collective Health Initiative family.
Yes,
The Chi, shout out to the Chi. We call ourselves the Chi for short. Ketan Nefer, Master of Chef, Precious Porter, Precious Mother Love, Mama Elaine, Sister
yes,
Clarice Manning, and Safan Pickett. Shout out to y'all.
yes. There's no way in the world we can leave them out. That was how we met.
Indeed.
Nowhere in the world. And I think all my Sip and Chat viewers know how much I love the Chief because I talk about y'all a lot. Actually, Mama Elaine came on a few weeks ago and we talked about breathology. So
Beautiful.
absolutely,
Beautiful.
absolutely, absolutely. But make sure y'all hit him up. He's a great wealth of knowledge. He real chill. You see how chill he is. He give out good vibes. But he is such a wonderful person to know, and believe me, I hit him up
Thank
all the
you.
time. I'm like, Hey, what you think about this? But there's one more thing. You know what? Before we go, is one more thing that I want to share with people. So one of the things that Dr. Yu does is he does herbal walks,
Oh yeah.
educating us. And matter of fact, before we go, I know we gave all the information to go, but we're gonna tap into this too. Um, he does herbal walks where he teaches you what you have in your backyard that could very well be helping you on your daily journey. Can you talk to people a little bit about your herbal walks that you do?
Well, the herbal walks we can walk either on a roadside. Sometimes it's in a on a trail. Sometimes it's in a park. Sometimes it's in the woods. Sometimes it can be practically anywhere. A lot of times I like to do things right in the city, because a lot of people pass by and overlook a lot of medicinal herbs every day and don't realize that these things have potential. These things that most people call weeds are actually medicinal herbs that can be
Hmm.
used often to correct or help to rebalance a person from issues that they may be experiencing on the health side. So it's a matter of getting a way to reconnect us, especially us as melanated people, with our environment, with indigenous information and perspective, on how to treat our environment and have a good relationship with our environment so our environment can also have a good relationship and benefit us, you know. So
Yeah.
teaching how to recognize herbs, from an identification standpoint, teaching about the benefits of herbs in terms of what they can be used for health wise or for other purposes, and also different wild edible foods, that may be present. We did the last one up in Baltimore recently. I think it was last Saturday, this past Saturday. We did one up in Baltimore, had about maybe 7, 8 people join us, myself and Kathleen Neffer. And we saw so many different things. On average, we tend to see about 15 different herbs that we can discuss, identify, talk about in about a 2 hour span. People take notes, pictures, all kind of things like that. We saw even some callaloo, growing at the side of the road, and we saw mint, that somebody was growing in something that was ornamental that was on the side of the sidewalk, things that people wouldn't even think exist. I can't count how many times I've passed by a place and even seen people growing kale in an ornamental way
Yeah.
where the average person will walk by it and not realize it's kale. So there's so much to learn, and so much it'll shift the whole way you look at everything that's around you. So that's
Yeah,
that's what I do.
one of the most memorable things that I remember or recall you saying was what you need is probably right in your backyard.
Absolutely.
I remember you
Absolutely.
saying that. You were like, if you look around, what you need is probably in your backyard. Like I crack up laughing because when you're talking about people and growing stuff, we go to the grocery store and we pay for dandelions. But dandelions grow wild and crazy, literally in my yard in flower beds. So I'm like, man, you spending the money to go get dandelion greens from there. You can just get it right here from your yard. Just clean them up real good.
Well,
So I,
it said that applied information is power. You
yeah,
know how people say knowledge is power, but I like the way I heard someone else put it. Applied information is power. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of information is not put out there in the mainstream and is kind of even intentionally kept away from us. Because if we knew how much resources we have around us, this whole world would shift. This
yeah,
whole, especially in this country, in the United States, a lot of things would shift if we really understood the resources that we have around us and how we could utilize that to our benefit. So the
yep,
more we're separated from that information, and and we don't go and seek those things out, the more we're able to be manipulated, the more money it's going to cost us because we're going to buy things like you mentioned with the dandelion that we really could get for free. You
Yeah.
know, yeah,
Along with
might
the
have
other herbs and
relatives.
stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know, like with holistic health, I mean, it's been around forever, but now that people are, it's coming more to the mainstream. You notice the cost of some of the herbs are going up too, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, well, man, like I gotta pay $30 for this. Um, when, like you said, it could very well be in your backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one last thing that I want to say, if bring my thought process back for a moment.
Okay.
Um, just left me. If it comes back, I'll try to do it before the show is out.
No worries. But what I did want to go back and get was you said applied information is power. I love
Yes.
that because you can have the information, but if you do nothing with it, it doesn't matter.
Yes, it just came back what I was going to say. One thing that I want to share with a lot of people before I get off of here too is that when it comes to herbs and herbal medicine, sometimes people hear like, okay, this herb is good for that, and they take it like that herb is the only thing that you can use for that. But there are so many different herbs that can be used for the
Yeah.
same thing. There's always options. If you don't have this herb or you don't have access to this herb, then there's another herb that can do something very similar at the very least. You know, so never be limited with what it is that um, you feel that you can use for a benefit. Know that there's as my grandfather used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Right.
You know, so
I know
with
that saying
herbs and
very well.
everything. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
hmm And I appreciate you saying that because people need to know that there are options. You know, it's just like for those who are tapping in, who, you know, curious about holistic medicine, I'll break it down to you like this. It's just like you go to the doctor, there's several different medications that the doctor can apply to you based on the onset. Most of the time, the doctor is going to give you the medicine. He's going to look at you as a whole, number one. And he's going to say, okay, well, because of this you have going on, this one may not be best for you, but I can give you this and it'll do the same thing. The same thing for holistic and natural remedies and medicine. You know, it depends on what your individual situation is, what will work best for you. Maybe one does, maybe one doesn't. But don't be limited and say, oh, well, this particular herb didn't work for me. So I'm done with herbal medicine. No, you just got to find the one that's right for you. That a good way to say that, Dr. Yu?
yes, indeed.
All right. See, now the conversation warming up real good, and it's time to go. But I can always bring you back because I told you I wanted to tap into you anyway, um, just for some other things I want to do for our community. But thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight and chat with me.
My
Um,
pleasure.
I'm definitely getting ready to go to your website so I can order some holy basil tea. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I keep saying that to myself so I can remember that's what I'm gonna do. Um, but I thank you so much for joining me. Remember, you guys, you can reach out to Dr. Yu at yew360.com. That's YEW360.com. Go check him out. See what all he has. You never know. He may have a service and or um, a herbal combination that will help you with whatever you're going through or, you know, whatever you're doing with your health to boost and improve. Um, I'm trying to make sure I didn't forget nothing else because this is a great conversation. I made it time to end, but I know I said I was going to try to keep it short because I like to, you know, respect the time in the evenings. But as always, remember today is a great day to make a difference in the lives of those around you. Please be sure to like, love, and share this live. Share it with other people. Let them catch the replay. I'm telling you, there's information in here that somebody needs. I don't have access to them, but guess what? You do. So make sure you share it with your community. Be a blessing to them. Thank you again, Dr. Yu. I appreciate you. You all have a safe and wonderful week, and I'll
Likewise.
see you all next week.
Peace and blessings, everyone.
Yeah. What Dr. Yu said. Peace and blessings.